The cover page of One Piece chapter 1144, titled A Time for Warriors, features the aftermath of the Who's Who's hideout bust. The carpenter and abducted girls were incredibly grateful to their liberators. Now we wait to see if Ulti will be on the same page. And now that Yamato's gotten the sword back, the end of this cover story might just be near. It's officially been 100 chapters since the reveal of Gear 5. The chapter kicks off with Franky's jaw dropping at what he saw up ahead. Ripley was still giving him a tour of the place and wondered what he thought it might be. Apparently, this very scientific looking building has always been around. Since Franky is a cyborg, she figured it would be right up his alley. But Franky couldn't figure out why something like this would be in a country of warriors. Just then, Lilith and Bonnie, who I totally didn't forget about, welcomed him to the location. Lilith actually planned on showing it to him later on. Bonnie was having a great time. Franky asked why they were here. It turns out that the two of them got lost. Franky showing up means that they've been found. So not even the genius of a Vegapunk can easily overcome the sheer size of Elbaph. To Ripley, that was fortunate since the recent blaring of a horn meant that the forest might not be the safest place at the moment. Regardless, Lilith truly was amazed by the building. By her calculations, the old facility is at least 3,000 years old. Franky demanded to know how she came to that conclusion. He refused to believe that such a place could ever be that old. But Ripley couldn't deny the possibility. No one really knows its origins. So yeah, this place is positively ancient and dates back to the first world. The lore drops really don't stop with this arc. The mention of that only made Lilith's curiosity grow, so much so that she's decided to call the place home. Franky decided to get a closer look at it too. But just then, Bonnie started freaking out. They all shifted their attention. Emerging from the forest was a devious looking thundercloud. For Franky, Elbaph seemed to have one crazy thing after another. But this monster was totally unfamiliar to Ripley. With that said, this might actually prove to be a great opportunity. An electrically charged monster might just be what this building needs to come back to life, kind of like what Enel did on the moon. In the western village, they were dealing with another monster in the form of a Draugr. The once festive giants were trying their best to sober up and pick up their weapons. No one knew how the monsters managed to escape their imaginary homes inside the children's minds. The giant chiefs were needed, but they were all really drunk by now. Brook couldn't believe that Elbaph even has a giant version of him. As guests, the Straw Hats were told to retreat to the edge of the village. A giant even offered to carry them. Usopp assured the giant that they don't need to be treated so delicately, that they're ready to fight alongside them, although Jinbei noticed him say that last part very quietly. Colin, on the other hand, was much louder about it. The young giant insisted on fighting as a warrior of Elbaph like the others, but was refused. He argued that he's Gaban's son, but that hardly made him Gaban. The older giant claimed that the battlefield is no place for a child, and shoved him aside. From there, Nami called out to Elder Jarul. There was something she needed to tell him about. Moments passed. She wound up talking to the castle guards. They told him about an intruder who looked identical to Shanks, how he and the person he was with were very strong, and the weird ability that one of them possessed. Jinbei chimed in to say that strange powers tend to come from devil fruits, so they're probably dealing with a fruit user. The elder told another giant to spread the word about two humans beside the Straw Hats being on Elbaph. The man raced off, agreeing to report back once they're found. With so much mayhem, Brook had to wonder if there might be more than just two invaders. Even without knowing their identities, Nami was sure that the invaders must be the absolute worst kinds of people. Usopp added that if they're taking hostages, they must have elaborate plans for Elbaph. This sort of kidnapping was totally unfamiliar. The old giant refused to let them get away with it. But when the Straw Hats sought to help, Jarul argued that they should go hide somewhere safe. Meanwhile, Dory and Brogy were still trying to sober up. Jinbei believed that if the ones responsible are human-sized, then they're better suited to handle them. Usopp added that the giants can take care of the bigger stuff while they deal with the intruders. Brook was on the same page, but was worried about the vastness of their search radius. Nami noticed something. Golan was struggling to drag a bag of weapons to a cloud ship. He was pleasantly surprised that the Straw Hats wanted to join him instead of stop him. But if that's the case, Colin really wants to be the captain. Nami found that to be really cute. This guy is like reverse Momonosuke. 20 years old, but looks like a little kid. With that, the Colin pirates set sail. Nami was pleased by his enthusiasm, but Usopp argued that Colin is big enough to do some rowing too. So it looks like Elbaph might just have a new generation of warrior pirates on its hands. Meanwhile, Gunko was enjoying some tunes while the Giants announced the presence of some unknown and dangerous humans on the island. Apparently, this is something Gunko always does after a meal because she likes it. Saint Summers was giving her a hard time. Gillingham respected her hobby and asked about her favorite song. Gunko told him that it's New World, while nodding along. Summers kept messing with her until the other Celestial told him to quit it. A desperate attempt to save the children shifted his attention. So Gunko is actually a fan of Brook's music, and despite Nika being her biggest fear, she's been moved by a song he inspired. Gunko's panty-centric attire might just be meant for the Soul King, so that's just even more reason to be excited for her to meet the Straw Hats. Anyways, Saul had a shield for each arm this time. He refused to let the children go any further, and was cheered on by Robin and Chopper. Saul realized that the kids are following the direction of the cloth next to them, but since it's headed right into the flames, he has to stop them or they'll die. Yova, being up front, was the first to encounter the shield. When she did, the boy behind her bumped into her and they both suffered. Saul was horrified. He quickly stopped and tried to think of something else. Robin was thoroughly disturbed by the power's cruelty. She's sure that it must be the work of a devil fruit ability. If that's the case, the culprits must be nearby. Saul twirled a lasso. Unfortunately, they don't have time to search since the kids would be in the fire by then. Since they can't mess with the ones up front, they'll start with Bjorn in the back. That actually worked and kept the boy out of line. Now, Saul just needs to do the same to all of them, one at a time. But something over his shoulder interrupted that thought. The Nightmare Fenrir was drooling at the sight of him. Saul had no idea that the villains were behind the monsters too. Hopefully the two pirates from Yonko's crew can back him up and take it down. Back at the school, the principal was told that it wasn't just the Western Village that was seeing monsters. They were showing up all over Elbaph, and yet another person believed that this must be due to a devil fruit ability, so they'll need to locate the source as soon as possible. On the outskirts of the Western Village, they finally managed to take the Draugr down, but not without taking some damage and injuries themselves. Even so, there was hardly any time to recover as something else entered the fray. A massive Nidhogg dragon launched an attack, and it came along with a ghost. At this rate, they wouldn't be able to protect the village, but Dory and Brogy managed to sober up and were ready to help. They annihilated 3 of the monsters from afar. At first, the people thought the chiefs were responsible, but it was actually the giant warrior pirates. Dory and Brogy apologized for being late. They were busy puking up good booze. They'll deal with the monsters while the others tend to the children. The entire ship was ready to get revenge for their wasted drinks. And along with them was Gaban himself. He was wielding an axe and still had a bit of booze on him, so at least one of them can still afford to drink. And now, we'll finally get to see the legend cut loose. The Holy Knights might know about the Straw Hats being here, but the left hand of the Pirate King might just be a different story. I'm expecting confirmation that he does in fact have the power to summon axes. Looking cool and helping should also give Luffy and Zoro a good reason to seek the guy out once this is all over. And we can't forget that staying on Elbaph for a long time seems to come with a mysterious price. As a human who's been here for years, Gaban is the best person to convey that. No Luffy or Loki in this one, but this arc is doing a great job of keeping all the characters involved. In the comments, let us know what you expect to see from Gaban, along with any ideas you might have about that 3,000-year-old building. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.